Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. As promised, we are going to do Washington wines. Now we're not going to do it all month, but I do want to do varietals. Like this is a Merlot episode, then I'll do Syrah, we'll go on and on. We might do quite a few of these, maybe through the whole month of March, since it's the official Washington Wine Month. They added August. I'm not sure back when, but they did. And I don't get as excited about August. I think one Washington Wine Month is enough for a year, don't you? But the idea, of course, is to get people to appreciate Washington wines and what they're all about. And of course, you know I do. I like wines from all over the world, but Washington definitely produces some great wines. And Merlot is one of them. Merlot is a very... well, they use Merlot a lot, let's say for blending, because it's a little softer in the tannins. It rounds out certain wines like Tannat, Malbec, Cabernet Sauvignon, very famous for that. In the 90s, they did a lot of Merlot in California, especially in central California, and it, was a little flabby and watered down, and kind of lost its thunder. And then I think it was '04, Sideways came out, and of course, trash Merlot, not on purpose. We've talked about this before, but then sales went down. I think about 2% worldwide, and then they went up 16%. Pinot Noir sales went up 16%. So Pinot Noir sales are still strong. One of the parents of Merlot is Cab Franc, just like Cabernet Sauvignon, so they're related to each other. It's the #1 wine grown in France, Merlot is. And the cool thing about Merlot, and this is really what I get excited about, is that people don't realize that Merlot is what Petrus is. And Petrus is one of the most famous wines in the world. I think at one point in an auction, I think it went for $14,000 a bottle in an auction, an older Petrus. So Merlot can age depending on where it comes from. In Fronsac, on the right bank of Bordeaux, that's all they do is Merlot. So I mean, Merlot is very, very respected in France. The reason it's an early ripening grape, so it's susceptible to frost, of course, because it blossoms early, and if there's an early frost, it will hurt the fruit. It's a pretty big grape with smaller seeds compared to the size of the grape, and the skins are not that thick, so you get less tannins in Merlot. One of the cool things about Washington State growing Merlot is that we have a huge diurnal shift. In other words, it gets cooler at night, warmer during the day. So it protects the acidity of Merlot, which is very important in developing good wines that possibly could age. Since we just did a thing on cellaring wine and aging it and all that stuff, so that's kind of cool. We're going to get started right off. I have two Merlot from my... two different wineries of the year. This is Barnard Griffin, my current winery of the year. This is their 2018 Merlot, now 18th grape vintage in the state of Washington. And this rolls in at $15. Barnard Griffin, great. Rob Griffin does a good job of producing really good value wines. Not quite as fluid in my talking as I normally am. I hope you guys can bear with me on this one. So let's get started on this one. Winery of the Year, 2018, great vintage in state of Washington, Merlot. So, good color on this. This is really, really kind of ruby. Super ruby color. There you go. Fairly dark. Let's see what we get on the nose. Get like black raspberry, dark cherries, just a kiss of chocolate. Obviously, Rob doesn't use a lot of new oak, $15. Great price. I think it's average around $16 or $17. I got a good deal on it, so I'm selling it at the store as my pick of the month for $15. Let's see what we get on the palate. Get that chocolate. Yeah, I like that. Let's see what we get on the palate. The raspberries come through big time on the palate with cherry notes. Good acidity. That's what I like about this wine. This is the appellation is, I'd say, Columbia Valley. Rob Griffin has a lot of contracts, long-term contracts with these guys on a handshake. And he's been buying fruit from these guys for a long time. So beautiful cherry, raspberry notes. A little bit of chocolate on the backside with good acidity, which really makes it a good food wine. Dry tannins, just solid fruit. Good balance, good integration. This is not a super complex Merlot, but it's very good. And this is one of those Merlots you just pop on an evening. You're having hamburgers, pizza, maybe you're cooking some ribs. This would be perfect with that. I think, and it's $15, which is a really, really good value. The chocolate notes hit up on the mid palate, sneak into the finish. I'm getting a little bit of a kind of red and purple flower notes coming through as well. There's an interesting candy-esque, like candied cherries, but not sweet. If you can understand the difference between the flavor of candy not being sweet, it just has that kind of candy-esque cherry raspberry thing going on. Solid Merlot, $15. I'm going to go B plus on that. I think this is a great food Merlot. Yeah, awesome job, Rob. Good to go. Way to go. Way to go. Now, the little Rob Kona collection, Kona on Red Mountain. So we have Columbia Valley, generally speaking about vineyards from the Columbia Valley now to Red Mountain. Now, Red Mountain is one of my favorite appellations in the state of Washington. It's not really a big mountain. It's kind of just a really, really large hill. I guess you could call it a mountain. Actually, these guys that started Kona Vineyard started researching in '61, the year I was born. And I think they started the winery in '80. Now, Rob started in '83, but the cool thing here, I forgot to mention that, Rob started his winery in '83. They started theirs in '80, and I think it was '78 they actually sold Cab to Preston Winery, where Rob was the winemaker. A little bit of a connection there. Love Red Mountain fruit. They're really known for their Cab. Let's give it a little rinse here. Okay, Kona Vineyards, Red Mountain AVA Merlot, 2016. This rolls in at $20. So I tried to find one on the lower side of the price scale, one in the middle, and then one a little bit higher. So Kona, Red Mountain. Let's see what we get on the nose. Oh wait, color first. So this is a little darker, but it is also ruby with a little bit of a... no, there's no brown. It's pretty dark. There you go. More on the burgundy side, I guess. Chocolate comes through big time on the nose. Dark cherries for sure. I get a little tobacco as well. You can smell the brightness on this, which is really interesting. Let's see what we get on the palate. This is smooth, really smooth, like silky smooth. Dark cherry notes for sure. Little hollow on the back of the mid palate, which surprises me. Good acidity on this one as well. A little bit of the tannins are actually kind of there on the back side of this. Could be wood tannins. Definitely chocolate on this one all day. And this is one of the things, if you're doing a blind tasting of Merlot versus Cab, chocolate is a really big thing in Merlot when you're talking about if it has some oak on it. That gives it those chocolate tones. This has a lot of plum on the backside. Interesting, that chocolate front to finish with dark cherries. Hollows out just barely on the back of the mid palate, but then it comes on strong with really plum notes, which I did not get. But now I sort of get them on the nose. I didn't get them at first, but now I'm getting them. Sometimes it's good to re-smell after you taste. You're going, ah, yeah, maybe that's why I didn't get it, but I can taste it. Solid Merlot. Certainly not $5 better than Barnard Griffin, but good Merlot. Interesting. Very interesting. It's really good, don't get me wrong, but I just had that hollow feeling on the back of the mid into the finish. Kind of bothers me. I'm going to go C plus, B minus on that. No, I'm gonna go B minus B. Yeah, to be fair, a little tobacco coming through. The finish is longer. The only flaw in this one, I think, is the hollow back of the mid palate. You know, it kind of disappears, and it kind of takes a while for it to come back. You know, it's like I thought I told my kid to come back in an hour, and he's been gone an hour and a half. You know what I mean? So B minus B on that. Just think Barnard Griffin's a better value. Here we go. A couple of years ago, this was my Winery of the Year, Longship Cellars. This is their 2017 Magic Merlot, Horse Heaven Hills. Now, Horse Heaven Hills is a really good spot for Merlot. This rolls in at $28. Kyle Welch, great winemaker. He continues to pump out great wines. And I'm a big fan of his winery and the wines that he's producing. I'm excited to try the 17. Wasn't the best vintage ever, so I'll be curious to try that. So we have a 18, a 16, and a 17. Very interesting. Color on this. I'd say go ruby red, ruby towards the red side, but fairly dark, as you can see. Very clear on the edges, yeah. You can see a little bit through it. Let's see what we get on the nose. This is tobacco lingered with candied cherries and a little bit of plum action on this, and you can hit just a slight chocolate hit. There's some interesting like cedar notes coming through on this as well. Sort of like a, you know, I'd say cigar box and cedar. Most interesting nose of the three. Let's see what we get on the palate. Solid. So talk about lilacs and lilacs and just purple flower notes coming through big time on this one. Love the cherry and plum notes front to finish. This is a big bad boy, and it has good structure. Really peaks on the flower notes right in the top of the mid palate going into the back, and then tobacco sneaks in with there. In with it. With there, what does that mean? Anyway, good complexity. Solid fruit, but good structure. Good acidity, good balance. Really a nice high tone on the mid palate. Front, cherries, plums. Flowers come through with the tobacco and then again sneaks into the back of the finish. And the finish is quite powerful with the tobacco notes. And there's a kiss, just a kiss of chocolate that sneaks in front to finish and then kind of comes out on the finish. Good Merlot. That's really good. If you want to know what Washington State Merlot is all about, in that upper tier range, we're talking $28, so not chump change, but certainly you could lay this one down easily 8 to 10 years. If you're experimenting with cellaring wine, you want to buy a couple of these and tuck them away. This would pay off big time. Good tannins, but they're smooth, as we expect from Merlot. just a really solid. Does he blend it with anything? I'm just curious about that. I don't know if it's 100% Merlot or not. Oh yeah, there we go. It's right on the back there. I didn't even see that. 97% Merlot, 3% Malbec, which probably gives it that little, doesn't take much, gives it a little more structure. I like it. Good job, Kyle Welch. Miss you guys, haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I'm going to go straight up A on that. I think that is a very, very good Merlot from Washington State. Actually, they're all good. Kind of just a little bit hollow on the back of the mid-palate and all that. And I think for an everyday drinking red, I think this Barnard Griffin is a steal at $15. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day. I really appreciate your support. I post on Mondays and Thursdays videos. I'm getting more subscribers. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends about this. I hope you're enjoying the content here. And I've had some great comments from folks, and I really appreciate that. I love interacting, getting ideas. All that stuff is very fun. You keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.